This is a Willets Point Shea Stadium bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
Oh, yes, it is the Subway to Shea podcast. Anthony Rivera here with you, talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets. It's episode 224 from the Subway to Shea studios in my office. Make sure you're following Subway to Shea on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea, as well as me personally at Ant Rivera 86, and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify if you prefer to listen to it. But if you want to be a part of the chat, you want to be a part of the conversation like we're about to do right now, you're doing that on YouTube. That's the best way to do it. You can do it on X as well, but YouTube is the place to be. And you can support the Subway to Shea podcast with super chat, super stickers, and super thanks, which are all available on YouTube. We are a day later from our last podcast, which we did on Sunday morning. And well, maybe now it's 2 days later because it's now a little Mets after midnight on a Tuesday, because breaking news came about a couple hours ago that the Mets have signed right-handed relief pitcher Devin Williams straight out from the New York Yankees. Another Yankees pitcher coming to the New York Mets for what is now the third straight year in a row. First, it was Luis Severino. Then it was Clay Holmes. And now Devin Williams is a New York Met. I was a little shocked by it, although there was talks that the Mets had very much interest in Devin Williams. And you know what? I don't hate the deal. I mean, what are you going to do, right? The Mets need relief pitching. They got relief pitching here. And the David Stearns is making his moves before the winter meetings begins. I said that there was going to be a big move by the time we got to the winter meetings, and at the winter meetings, this is the first step. Well, the trade for Marcus Semien, trading Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien, was really the first step. Now the Mets get Devin Williams, and off and away we go. 3 years, $45 million deal with a $6 million bonus, which is prorated over 3 years equally. So probably we'll be getting $2 million from that bonus of the next 3 years, and $15 million is deferred, $5 million each year. The first on it, Will Salmon of The Athletic, and then the numbers and figures came from John Heyman of the New York Post. Shout out to the chat here. Mets after midnight, and we got 32 people in the room wanting to talk about this move that the Mets made to sign Devin Williams. Shout out to Armand in the chat. Shout out to my guy Carlos Ramos in the chat. We look at let's take a look at Devin Williams' his stats, his career: 31-16 with a 2.45 ERA, 86 career saves, 465 strikeouts in 297 and 2/3 innings pitched. Last season for the New York Yankees, 4.79 ERA. Really was a struggle for him, especially out the gate to start the season. In April, had a 9 ERA, and after losing the closing job to David Bednar, who was picked up at the trade deadline, he posted a 2.50 ERA, which is a good sign that the Mets may be able to turn this thing around for Devin Williams. We know the whole situation with the facial hair policy and why it all changed, probably because Devin Williams didn't want to shave his beard. And now I'm pretty sure the Yankees, maybe they'll go back to having the facial hair policy back to being clean shaven. But Brian Hoke made an interesting comment that after the Yankees' final ALDS game, Devin Williams said this about playing in New York, and that is, at first it was a challenge, but I've grown to love being here. I love this city. I love taking the train to the field every day, and now he will be leaving the 4 train to the Bronx and taking the 7 train to Queens to Citi Field, as he will be in that Mets bullpen. We know he's got that airbender changeup, and I want to bring up his Baseball Savant page. If you look at his Baseball Savant page, just look at that chase percentage. whiff percentage, K percentage, all in the 97 or above percentile there. Hard hit percentage, ground ball percentage, the extension, everything just looks good coming out of Devin Williams. Now, I know he did not have a great season last year. And heck, I know a lot of Met fans made fun of the fact that Pete Alonso hit that home run against him in the postseason. And now we have him on our team. So hopefully he doesn't give up any more of those type of home runs if the Mets make it to the postseason, or any big home runs at all. That will be great for the Mets, and hope he's a lot better than he was in the Bronx last season. Now, Devin Williams is a David Stearns guy. Let's be for real here for a moment. Devin Williams is most definitely a David Stearns guy. Traded away Josh Hader when he was in Milwaukee. When both were in Milwaukee, David Stearns traded away Josh Hader to allow Devin Williams to close back in 2022. And if you looked at, there's a great tweet by Diana, who's at Run Wildkian. Williams ERA in a non-Stearns run organization, 3.48. Under Stearns, 1.89 ERA. So hopefully David Stearns, hopefully the Mets pitching staff and the new pitching coach and the bullpen coach can help Devin Williams get back to the form that got him here and made him one of the best closers in baseball for a long time, right? The past 4 or 5 years, he's been one of the better closers and better relievers in all of baseball. I think a very important part here is Will Salmon's article for The Athletic. Devin Williams said to be open to pitching in different roles. So that's a huge, important decision when it comes to the New York Mets and what's going to happen with possibly Edwin Diaz. Let me get to the chat here. Talked about Carlos Ramos being in the chat. Armand in the chat as well. We got Ibby in the chat. We got Vizzy285 in the chat. Appreciate you for being here. Gabe is in the chat, as well as Talking Mets with Rob. So appreciate everybody for being in here. Let me get to what Talking Mets with Rob said. Smart move, one of the best 3 relievers on the market, and the Mets got one, probably Diaz next, and we'll get into that shortly. Shout out to Maureen. She's also here in the chat. Vizzy saying, I have a friend works very close with the Diaz family. Been told he's torn between the Mets and the Dodgers, and I'm sure the Dodgers are going to offer him as much money as possible, but I'm hoping the Mets can kind of counteract that and bring him back, and we'll get into that shortly. And a little bit of Ant After Dark, little Mets After Midnight here. Shout out to Ibby for being a part. I know hopefully you checked out his short not too long ago about the Devin Williams news. Gabe Uztek saying, will Devin play first base? Probably not, right? He's going to be relief pitching, whether it be setting up and closing. It will be one of those two. I am me saying, need Diaz. Talking Mets with Rob as well. I appreciate you guys for being here. And he's at work. I appreciate you for watching at work, man. And I know you had your live stream earlier, so make sure you guys check out Talking Mets with Rob, who also covered the Devin Williams move a little bit earlier on. So what does this mean for Edwin Diaz here? Because Devin Williams obviously can close. We've seen it in the past. He can set up. And I said this earlier, as soon as the move was made to sign Devin Williams, I said signing Devin Williams doesn't change a thing to me. I still want Edwin Diaz back. And still, to this day, ever since the offseason began, and every week that I've said it in this podcast or on this podcast, I said Edwin Diaz is the number one priority for the New York Mets over anything else. And I still will stick by that. And if you have the combination of Devin Williams, who, let's be honest, way more talented than Ryan Helsley is, and Edwin Diaz, who's been the best closer in baseball over the past couple of years, that's a good 1-2 punch at the back end of the bullpen. Now, the Mets still need more relief pitching, and we'll get into that shortly. The Mets still need starting pitching, which we will get into this weekend on the show. 10 a.m. Sundays. Check it out. Subscribe. But Edwin Diaz still needs to be the priority here, and it has nothing to do with sentimentality, right? Like everyone talked about losing Brandon Nimmo and him being a Met forever, Pete Alonso, him being a Met forever. You know, Edwin Diaz, signing him, like I said, has nothing to do with sentimentality and everything to do with him being the best closer on the market. He is the best relief pitcher. He is the best closer on the market. And you know what the telltale of that is? We know he is. But across Major League Baseball, the telling sign of that is that a team that just won back-to-back World Series is in the running to now bring in Edwin Diaz. And this is the best team in baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers. So the Mets need to do their due diligence. They need to tell Edwin, look, let us know what the Dodgers are giving you and come back to us and let's get this thing figured out. And the way the contract is structured sets up nicely to bring Edwin Diaz back. There's deferred money in there. Obviously, the bonus is in there. But this 3-year, $45 million deal sets up nicely to bring Edwin Diaz back. Now, I want to pull up the relievers that are left over here so that we can check them out as well, because they are a lot. There's a lot left at the table here that the Mets can come in and bring in some of these guys, even if Edwin Diaz doesn't return. So I'm going to pull up the free agents here, and I want to share that with you. See, Edwin Diaz, wins above replacement, 3.1. He has been the best so far. You got Robert Suarez up there. That could probably be the replacement if they decide not to sign Edwin Diaz. But he's 35 years old. Tyler Rogers, I definitely want to bring him back to be in middle relief. David Robertson, 41. I'm not heading down that route. Maybe a Pete Fairbanks. Maybe Emilio Pagan. Obviously, there's Kyle Finnegan. He's had some closing, but none of these guys are Edwin Diaz. Sir Anthony Dominguez, another guy. None of them are Edwin Diaz. They're just not. So as you look at this group here, it's even more of an emphasis to bring back Edwin Diaz. Now, I know Armand in the chat had given his contract offer for Edwin Diaz. Offer 4 years, $88 million. And he wants Diaz at all costs. I'd do that deal. Carlos Ramos even going a little bit higher than that. 4 years, $100 million with an option for a 5th year. I tend to agree. I think he would sign that. I think he would sign that immediately. So it's imperative that the Mets bring back Edwin Diaz here. They need him. As IME said, need Diaz. Need him. Maureen saying this better not be it for the bullpen. I'll be really pissed. Get Diaz. Everyone's in on it. Carlos saying not only a great 1-2 punch, but also an absolute freeze on the change of pace and tactics between both arsenals that Diaz and Williams bring back to back off the bullpen. Obviously, Edwin Diaz has that fastball slider. Devin Williams has that airbender change, and he's used that change 52% of the time, looking at the Baseball Savant right now. Used the four-seam fastball 47% of the time. So that's his 1-2 punch. Jarrell Carroll, shout out to you. Thanks for being a part of the show. 4 years, $80 million is ideal for Edwin Diaz. If you could get him for that deal, it leaves the Mets room to make a lot more moves and get a lot more done this offseason. And they got a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work needs to be done. Carlos Ramos saying Sean Manaea will be in the bullpen as well. I would assume if he's in the bullpen, it is as a long man because you already have A.J. Minter in there. You have Brooks Raley in there. Shall I even say Richard Lovelady? I mean, that's probably not going to last long, but you got this. This is the one season where they have a lot of lefties in the bullpen, but I wouldn't be shocked. Sean Manaea reinvented himself in the bullpen, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him back in there as a long reliever, especially when a lot of part of this rotation does not get past the 4th or 5th inning. So it wouldn't shock me. IME saying this is going to make or break Stearns this offseason. If he can't get it done, we need a GM that will. You cannot let the Dodgers get Diaz and lose out on Pete Alonso. You know, with everything that's gone down for the offseason and everyone wanting new free agents in here, I said the two biggest moves that they could make is bringing back Edwin Diaz and bringing back Pete Alonso. And Pete Alonso is now, to me, a little bit more imperative to bring back because they don't have Brandon Nimmo anymore. And he was one of the best run producers with runners in scoring position outside of Pete Alonso last season, especially in the clutch. So I think bringing back Pete is very important to this roster construction and to the lineup. I wouldn't be shocked if they are able to get that done. And I tend to agree with you that I do think that this is a make or break offseason for David Stearns. I don't think they would let him go if the team doesn't make the postseason again. I think he is here for the duration of his contract, no matter what. This is a guy that Steve Cohen wanted for such a long time. Finally gets him, and I think he will see at least through his contract with the New York Mets. But for me as a fan, and I'm pretty sure for you, I am me as a fan, we are going to, be concerned if this guy does not get this team back to the postseason. It is an absolute failure if they miss out on the postseason for a second straight year in a row. They will. And I don't want that to happen to this team. Now, taking a look at the rest of the bullpen, current depth chart right now, I went on Mets.com, had Huascar Brazoban, Brooks Raley, A.J. Minter, Richard Lovelady, Dylan Ross, and Joey Gerber was your bullpen currently. You see how imperative it is to bring back Edwin Diaz? That's not including Devin Williams, who signed today. Bring back Edwin Diaz. These two moves for the bullpen, to me, and I don't know if you agree with me, but these two moves to the bullpen, bringing back Edwin Diaz and also bring back Tyler Rogers. I want to see more of what he has to offer. I know he pitched a lot. I know he's a lot older. But I love the different arm delivery that he brings to this team. That submarine, Chad Bradford style arm delivery that he brings to this team. Bring him back. And that's a set bullpen. Edwin Diaz, Devin Williams setting him up, and obviously vice versa when the need happens, when you need a night off for Edwin Diaz or you're bringing him in early, you can go to Devin Williams to close for a night or two. Have Tyler Rogers in the bullpen. Brooks Raley, who has had another good season under the Mets, especially coming back from Tommy John surgery. AJ Minter, who hopefully can stay healthy. Dylan Ross could be a wild card here because, he's young. I've heard a lot of good things about him, especially from Joe DeMayo and Ernest Dove. Huascar Brazaban is probably going to be right now your multi-inning reliever, right? He did a lot of it last year to a certain amount of success. He had his up and down season, but, they put a lot of work on him. And whenever he was asked to start a game and be a guy that eats up some innings, he did that for this team. So the Mets can get this bullpen set, to me, with two more moves: bringing back Edwin Diaz and bringing back Tyler Rogers. And then you can focus on getting another bat for the lineup to go along with Pete Alonso, because now with Nimmo out, I need someone else as well in there. You keep Barrett Beatty at third. I'll be fine with that. But get another bat in here to go along with Pete Alonso. And then you got the need for an ace in the rotation. Will the Mets go after Framber Valdez? I know he's not an ace on the Astros, or was an ace on the Astros, but he'd be an ace on this team of starting pitchers. Will they go the trade route? Will they finally trade some prospects? A lot will trickle down with some of these moves that are made here. The Mets can set their bullpen with these two moves, right? They don't have to really do anything at third base if we're giving Brett Beatty the opportunity that he's earned after his second half play. And in spring training, if you're going to be all in on Carson Bench, as was discussed ad nauseum from David Stearns, then you know that you have the right move here moving forward. Jarrell Carroll saying, I think Pete will return during the winter meetings. He does not want a repeat of last offseason, 4 years for $120 million with a club option in year 5. I would definitely do that. I know he's looking for more, and I know Scott Boras is looking for more, his agent. But that's a deal that I would take in a heartbeat to get Pete Alonso back. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the move that they make, that big move during the winter meetings. I think something's going to happen. Whether it's this, whether it's Diaz, I think something's going to happen. IME agrees about Tyler Rogers and Edwin Diaz making a huge difference. He would give Rogers a 1-year deal. Gerald Carroll saying Rogers was solid with his unique arm slide. That's the thing, right? You have different arm angles from Edwin Diaz to Devin Williams, and you get lower with Tyler Rogers. You get what AJ Minter brings with his arm angle, as well as Brooks Raley. And then you got the innings eater in Huascar Brazaban. If you want to throw, like Carlos Ramos said, you want to throw Sean Manaea in there, you got that side arm angle that he learned from Chris Sale. So there's a lot of things to work with this team and how they can set up the bullpen. The bullpen can be fixed. This is the start, bringing in Devin Williams, and they can easily fix this bullpen with the two moves that I said. I'm me saying Stearns cannot trade high prospects for guys who are not good. When I'm thinking about trades, it's got to be Tariq Skubal, right? Sandy Alcantara, Freddie Peralta. Those are good ace starting pitchers. I don't know how you guys feel about the pitchers out in Minnesota, Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez. And I talked about it on Straight Out of Flushing, which is out now with Dexter Henry. We talked about, what if the Mets got a Joe Ryan or Pablo Lopez and Byron Buxton? That kills two birds with one stone, right? You get a starting pitcher, pretty good one, and you get an outfielder. So we'll see what they do. Carlos Ramos says, I agree with that structure of a deal for Pete, but I'm making that number 4 for $140 million with an option for 5. So you're giving him a little bit more, 20 more million. So the thing with Pete is, what does he want? Does he want the years? Does he want the money? Because Steve Cohen can easily give him the money. It's the years that I think that the Mets, and I am as well, a little concerned about. I think 5 max is the best that he should be getting from the Mets. If they want to do a 6-year option, I could be convinced, but I think 5 years is the best to go with Pete Alonso. Peter's saying that this is an underrated move, and he thinks Tong would be better, so he wants to hold on to Jonah Tong. I want to hold on to Jonah Tong as well, thinking more of trading maybe a Brandon Sproat. There's also other pitchers in the minor leagues, right? I think that Jack Weniger's in there, Jonathan Santucci. It all depends on how you feel about these guys. Not all of them are going to be in this rotation. And not all of them are going to make it to the major leagues. The Mets only really have room right now for one starting pitcher, and it has to be an ace. It has to be. So you think about it. You got Nolan McLean, who's definitely going to be in this rotation, right? The most definites in the rotation. McLean, Peterson, Clay Holmes. Probably Kodai Senga if he's not traded. And, you know, his contract is favorable, so the Mets might hold on to him. Trying to think who else here. I don't know where Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong fit. I think Tong needs a little more seasoning. Sproat maybe a little bit more closer to being in this rotation. And then you also got to think Sean Manaea as well. Is he going to go in the bullpen, as Carlos said earlier, or is he going to start? I mean, you're paying him to start. You're paying him a lot of money to start. So you might as well start him in the rotation. But if the Mets can get one ace, whether it's Framber Valdez or trade for somebody, then, you know, then they can have something working here. @_Peter saying, I think with Nimmo gone, you can give Diaz and Pete an extra year. I thought that too. I thought with Nimmo being gone, that was more telling that Pete would be returning. And now, especially with Edwin Diaz, you know, and the contract Devin Williams got, I think that Diaz could come back as well. And it was said by Anthony DiComo and Mike Puma, as well as Andy Martino. All of them said it. They all said that the Mets signing Devin Williams does not take them out of bringing back Edwin Diaz. So I hope that signing Devin Williams first doesn't get Edwin Diaz upset. Just, you know, offer this guy the money and get things going here. IME says trade McNeil, drop a little money there, and make several signings. That's a move that the Mets definitely need to consider and definitely need to get done this offseason, is trade Jeff McNeil. The contract has just not worked out. He's not lived up to it. He got signed because he won the batting title in 2022, and he has not been the same since then. He has not been that hitter. So it's time to move on from Jeff McNeil, and you can get that utility type player elsewhere, right? You got Brett Beatty, who can play second and third, possibly outfield. You got Luis Angel Acuna, who can play all over the infield, give you great defense, and now is playing center field as well. I know people want to trade Luis Angel Acuna, but if I could trade Jeff McNeil and turn Luis Angel Acuna into that super utility guy with better defense, I'd do that. I don't know about you guys, but I would. Empire Jeff TV saying the Diaz decision will make or break this signing. I totally agree. This can't be the final signing, but there are other options out there, right? You know, I mentioned, you know, Robert Suarez is out there. Pete Fairbanks is out there. The problem is they are not Edwin Diaz. So they can make a move, but Diaz is the move. Maureen saying if Senga stays, he needs to put on his big boy pants and get rid of the prima donna attitude. He's definitely high maintenance, and that's a reason why I wanted to trade him. There's just got to be so much working in his favor to just get the best out of him. And the Mets have catered so much to building a rotation around him, a 6-man rotation. I mean, they went through a lot of injuries just to get Kodai Senga comfortable. And his mechanics could be off. I don't know. I'm more in tune with trading Senga if I could, but I see that the talent is there and his contract is favorable. Carlos Ramos saying, I think the Mets can trade for Peralta and Ryan. It's going to be very creative proposals, but I'll send you my creativity later. I think you'll like it. So yeah, send it on over. DM me and I'll check it out. I would definitely be interested in a Peralta or a Joe Ryan from Minnesota. He also thinks that McNeil and Senga will be traded. Those are the next. That's why I said this offseason, if you're going to trade and not just break up the core, but change the whole culture of this team, Nimmo, McNeil, Senga, those are the guys you should be looking to move on from. @_Peter saying, I think McNeil contract will be 8. I think the Mets can ask the Yankees for Spencer Jones. I mean, that would be interesting, but you're saying trade McNeil for Spencer Jones? I just want a clarification on that because I think Spencer Jones is a top guy, a top prospect. McNeil is definitely not going to be the prized possession for the Yankees for a Spencer Jones trade. Carl McNeil saying Senga out, Imai and Diaz in. EMI has been a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks about possibly being a starting pitcher, probably a 3, right? A 2 or a 3, probably in the Senga range. I don't know if he's more of a Yamamoto or a Sasaki, but Imai's gotten a lot of interest so far. I am me saying Senga will rebound. It's possible. He's got the talent to do it. So let's see if he can get it done. Peter saying Mets did a lot for Senga, but we have a new pitching coach now. Yeah. Can he help Senga? I mean, if Senga stays, he's going to have to. So we'll see how that wraps up there. I am me saying I want Schwarber and Pete. So do I. So do I. Bring me both. Schwarber was the one big ticket item that I wanted that I know probably is going to be harder to get, especially if they re-sign Pete. But man, can you imagine Pete, Schwarber, Soto, Lindor, Simeon, and then at the back end of that, you have Beatty, you have Francisco Alvarez healthy. Yeah, it could possibly break the MLB. It's quite possible. Carlos Ramos was saying Senga is a valuable trade piece. I think because of the talent, and 2, because of the fact that his contract is so favorable. It's a good deal, and I just don't know how much you can get for him, but we will see. We will definitely see. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up here. Once again, the breaking news, the New York Mets signed Devin Williams to a 3-year, $45 million deal with that $6 million signing bonus. 15 mils deferred, $5 million for each year. Will Salmon was first on the story, and John Heyman had all the numbers and figures out there. But appreciate you all for tuning in. Had 132 people in this room on a little midnight discussion, a little Ant After Dark, a little Mets After Midnight. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Carlos Ramos, Maureen, Peter, Armand, my guy Ibby from Till Mets Do His Park. I am me, Carl McNeil, G. The list goes on. Empire Jeff, appreciate you for being a part of this as well. A lot of great conversation, a lot of great discussion. Carol, Appreciate you, my friend, as well. Talking Mets with Rob was in here. Vizzy, everybody, guys. A shout out to all of you. Gabe, thank you so much. Appreciate you for tuning in. And that wraps up Subway to Shea, Little Mets After Dark. Make sure you follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me personally at Ant Rivera 86 and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify if you prefer to listen, but if you prefer to be a part of the chat, be a part of the conversation, you're doing that right here on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Anthony Rivera, this has been the Subway to Shea podcast. And always remember, let's go Mets.